Welcome back. The next company up to present is Studentbostäder i Norden, and we are very pleased to be joined by Rebecca and David, the CEO and the CFO of the company. With that, I'm leaving over to you.
Thank you. Hi, and welcome to this presentation of Studentbostäder i Norden. My name is Rebecca Eidenert, and I'm the CEO of the company, and have been that since we started in the autumn of 2018. Before I started at SBS, I worked at Rikshem with several positions in property management, rental, and project development.
Yes, my name is David Svensson. I'm the CFO of the company. I started here the 1st of January this year. Before I joined Rebecca, I also worked at Rikshem as a property manager and a controller, and then I joined Amastan as head of controlling.
We are the only pure student housing company that are listed with a focus on becoming a leader in the Nordic region. And since last year, we are located in 3 of the Nordic countries, and currently we manage 4,700 student units. We have also communicated further acquisitions of 500 units that have not yet been closed. And we have 2,900 units in our project portfolio. This adds up to a total of more than 8,000 units. And over 75% of our portfolio is green or social sustainable assets or a combination. During the first quarter of 2022, we have acquired a property in Örebro and agreed to acquire a new development project in Copenhagen of 173 units. And that will be completed and closed in Q4 2023. The company was founded in 2018. We could see that there were a lack of a nationwide player in the market. And in 2019, the portfolio was doubled through a large acquisition in Luleå. That was over 1 billion Swedish crowns. And in 2020, we set up our own organization. And before the new year, we made a reverse merger. And through that, we were listed at First North. 2021 was an intensive year with acquisition in both Denmark and Norway. And through these acquisitions, it was natural for us to change our name. In the beginning of 2022, we received a BB- rating from NCR. And by our Q1 report, we have a property value of 6.1 billion. And through this year, we have hired the Shore Plus radio, and that will continue when we close the communicated acquisitions and when we complete projects in our pipeline. Over the years, the portfolio has gained a wider geographical spread. Management is done cost efficiently through our digital tools and with our own staff. In bright green, you can see our project portfolio, and through this, we get even more efficient management units, but also a stock that contributes to an expanded green and social sustainability. The project portfolio will contribute with higher rents a square meter, and we have also made a conversion, as you can see to the right. Thanks to the fact that small apartments receive a higher rent a square meter when you negotiate with the tenants association, and the model available for norm rent. And the conversion in dark green is the average rent for our student units for which we have applied for the investment grant before the end of 2021, and the average rent for residential apartment that received the investment grant in 2019. And as you can see, our small units gets almost 50% higher rent a square meter. And this combined with lower property costs for the new production will contribute to higher operating nets that will come in when the projects are completed. And the Nordic region has had as a strategy that during recession, the population should further educate themselves instead of going unemployed. When the economy then turns, the population is ready for the labor market. The number of students has historically increased during recessions, and the increase of students, if we compare with the population as a whole, is extremely large. If we also look at our largest customer group of young people between the age of 19 and 26 here in Sweden, this will increase with 100,000 people within the next 10 years. And every year, the United Student Union of Sweden releases a housing report. Green cities have a surplus, light green has a balance, and orange is a shortage. Our student housing is located in the largest part in places with shortage. Today we have about 400,000 students here in Sweden and 100,000 student units. And here is an overview of some of our properties in Copenhagen, Stockholm, Jönköping, Luleå, and Gothenburg. And our continued growth will take place organically through our own project portfolio, but we also want to combine that with further acquisitions of either existing cash flow properties or purchase of land. The strength for us as a company and the student housing segment are the higher rents that we can achieve if we compare to the residentials. Also are the universities in growth cities where the demand is high, and we can, with the tenants, also work more digitalized. And we have a great advantage in being a pure student housing company when it comes to digitalization. As a property owner, it is difficult to digitize for their different customer groups. Changes are often taking place on the entire portfolio. Our tenants, they demand that we are digitalized. So through this, we can increase the customer benefits and at the same time lower our property cost. And we have put together a structure with smaller players who have adapted their system to what we ask for. And this would have taken years if we had a traditional property system. Instead, we use HomePal, which contains all our master data washed so we can integrate with new systems. And we have HomeQ, where our leases take place. And now we also have our app through AV, which is our tenants' interface, where they can sign their lease agreements, pay their rental notice, make error reports, and communicate with us. In our new production, we will also introduce digital keys that will be in the app. Sustainability is important for us as a company, but it's also important for our tenants. The impact we can make on our young tenants, we are convinced that they will take that through their whole lifetime. Our collaboration with Läxhjälpen is extremely important, and instead of sponsoring them centrally, we have our own SBS classes. These are young people in social disadvantaged area who without Läxhjälpen would not have grades to be able to study in high school. We offer these young people priority to our student housing when it's time for higher education. And all our new production is built with green building certification and is designed to receive the energy bonus, which means that the energy consumption is less than 56% of Boverket's building regulations. In the new production, the tenants are responsible for the cost of electricity and hot water with help of EMD. These are currently costs that are included in the lease agreements, and through this, the costs are transferred to the tenant. Upon completion, our project portfolio will generate a rental value of 260 million per year, and with the average rent of 2,450 Swedish crown a square meter. So this will increase the rent a square meter for the entire portfolio. Ongoing projects are now Jönköping, Karlstad, Stockholm, and Norrköping. In total, these projects includes over 1,800 student units. All have fixed-priced construction contracts, and the projects are proceeding according to the time plan. The first phase of Karlstad and the third phase of Jönköping will be completed in August this year. And the houses we built are designed to meet the requirement that today's students have. And through small units with common areas, we can get a lower monthly rent for the students, while we, as a property owner, get higher rents a square meter. And through the common areas, the students quickly get to know each other, which reduce the moving in and out. And in all new production, we focus on the physical activity for the students with outdoor gyms and group training on the evenings. And here you can see the ongoing projects. And with that, I will turn it over to David.
Thank you, Rebecca. As I said before, I started here the 1st of January, and I'm really happy to present a strong first quarter for Studentbostäder. If you look at the revenues, they're up by 43% to 73 million, and the net operating income is up 63% to 44 million. This is possible, though our cost only increased by 21%. There are mainly three reasons for this improvement. The first one is the vacancies are down from 12% last year to 5% this year. And the second is the properties we acquired last year have a better surplus ratio than our existing portfolio. The third one, maybe the most important one, is that now we have a better property management team in-house that manage the properties more cost effective. These improvements give us a surplus ratio of 60% compared to 53% last year. If you look at the profit from property management, it's up from 2 million to 16 million. Then I have to say we had some extraordinary costs last year that lowered the result. The change in value for properties is 110 million for the quarter, and the result after tax is 109 million, or 0.57 crowns per share. That's equal to return on equity by 23% on yearly basis. If you look at our financial targets, it's to grow the net asset value per share by 20% and the profit from property management by 20% as well. As I said, the profit from property management is up a lot, almost 470% due to extraordinary costs last year, and the net asset value has increased 90% the last 12 months. If you look at the risk limitations, the ICR should be above 2, is 178 today. The LTV should be below 70, is 63% today, and the equity ratio should be 25 or above and is 31 today. If we look at the charts for the past 2 years, we can see at the top left, the property value has gone from 2 billion to over 6 billion in 2 years. It will increase even further when we close the acquisitions in Denmark later this year and Norway. The total portfolio have an average yield of 4.03% in the valuation. Up to the right, you see the total income, and it's increasing as well. And you can see we have some seasonal variation in the income, and that's due to our 10-month rent in some parts of the portfolio. The net operating profit have the same pattern, and you can see down to the left that the net asset value per share has increased every quarter the last year. When we look at the balance sheet, I would say Studentbostäder has a quite simple balance sheet. When we look at the asset side, we have assets of 6.3 billion. 99% are properties or cash position. And we look on the other side, we only have one class of share. We don't have any hybrid bond or preferred stocks in our equity. We finance our assets with 3.3 billion in secure bank loans with an average interest rate of 1.49%. We have 15% or 600 million in a sustainable unsecured bond and 200 million in shareholder loans due to some acquisitions. The total average interest rate is 2.23% and the average time to maturity is 1.8 years. If you look at the debt maturity profile down to the left, you see it's quite even coming years. The average maturity time is 3.1 year, and 2024 is a bit higher when our bond expire. And we have 1.9 billion in equity. When we're looking ahead on our earning capacity, we have divided in 3 parts. Our current earnings, that's our portfolio as it stands today. And that gives us a net operating income 161 million and a profit from property management by 46 million. If we add the acquisition in Denmark and Norway, we will be closing this summer. We have a net operating income 193 million and a profit from property management of 75 million. If we also add the development properties in Karlstad and Jönköping, we have a net operating income of 280 million and a profit from property management 96 million on yearly basis. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Great presentation. I have a few questions.
Yeah.
Maybe if we can start with, both of you mentioned the acquisitions in Norway and Copenhagen. And Rebecca, you spent some time discussing or speaking about the sort of market in Sweden.
Yeah.
What's sort of the difference between the countries? Are there any fundamental differences one should be aware of?
No, but I think you can see that the lack is the same in those countries. Norway is a little bit worse. I think I need some water. Where it goes about 5 students per unit. In both Sweden and Denmark, we have 4 students per unit.
And it's still the students that lease the housing rather than the sort of schools or the universities, and
yes,
that's similar.
Yeah.
All right. Then on the surplus ratio, which was up significantly year over year in Q1, and you mentioned 3 sort of main components. What's the surplus ratio in sort of new construction, and will that further enhance the NOI margin going forward, or is sort of the journey of increased surplus ratio, is that behind us, or how should we think about that?
No, it's not behind us. We believe we will keep increasing the surplus ratio as we acquire properties that more newly build, and our project portfolio is better than 60% in surplus ratio.
Right. So can you give us a number on the new construction on average?
No, but I think it's about 70-75%.
All right. So significantly higher.
Yeah.
Great. And then Rebecca, you mentioned when it comes to the projects that they are sort of negotiated on fixed prices, which is comforting in today's environment. What about sort of future projects and potential starts if we look out 6 months or a year or 2? How should we think? Are those sort of at risk for being delayed, or how should we think?
Of course, now we have like 50% of our project portfolio already contracted, so that's positive. But of course, it's a negotiation always when you start a project. But I think that of course we can change things in the projects to get the prices down. And also, I think it will be good for us. It's going to be maybe easier also to get land and to do the projects. And we see that we have good margins on the project, so we are positive.
Have you seen anything like that so far or yet, that building rights prices have have come down, or it's easier to get access to
Yeah,
land?
but we are communicated with some of the municipalities and also negotiating with new projects. And when we discuss, it's not the so big increases that we can see right now. So we will continue and work with the projects, and we think that we really have a good project pipeline in good cities with good location, and that's the important.
And then continuing on this topic of projects, there was sort of an investment grant in Sweden, if we go back,
Yeah.
which is under discussion or under review. How does that affect your projects, and whether or not you receive the grant or don't receive the grant?
No, but we have always worked with two calculs, that one with the grant and one without. And we will continue to do that. Now the grant was taking off the budget of 2022, but there are money in, so you can get it in 2022, 2023, and 2024. But now we also have an election this year in September, and of course with the inflation, this will be. We will see what happens with the grant, but of course I think with the such situation right now, they need to do something.
Right. And in terms of project margins on your end, receiving or not receiving the grant, how does the sort of profit for you differ?
It's almost the same, because if we don't have the grant, we can hire the rents. So it's almost the same, and when we look at it, it's about 20% up on the rents if you don't have the grant.
And that isn't a problem in any of those regions?
No, not in the pipeline we have right now, but in some cities it could be a problem, but we always look in the cities with the highest demand. That's important.
And you mentioned a higher occupancy, David, during the presentation, going to 95%.
Yeah.
Is that sort of a level one should think of being a normalized level, or is it temporarily boosted, or can it go even higher?
No, I think in the next spring we will see higher, because we can see that it's the students aren't back at campus at 100%. So
they're not back?
No.
Okay. But okay, so post-COVID there has been sort of a lag, and
yeah.
Okay, and so somewhere between 95 and 100, I guess.
That's correct.
That's a good ratio. I think time is running out. So thank you both for attending this Investor Day.
Yeah.
And thank you all for listening in.